Hey, best friends. For years, I have been telling myself and you all that I would start a YouTube or social media story time channel about my life. And really, it was something suggested by my clients in the salon and just people I've known over the years who've heard about parts of my life. And and over the years, I've also been asked to do multiple reality shows, but it never seemed right for me. I was like, no, I'm an actor. I don't want to do reality TV. I had wanted to wait until I had the perfect setup, start the series, but I'm learning it doesn't really matter as long as the message gets out there. I am hoping that through the snippets of my life, you all out there will feel inspired or learn from my mistakes or see that through it all, you can definitely get through it. That is the message for this video today. So let's start. Where shall we start? Let's start in the middle. When I graduated high school, I wasn't sure where I wanted to be. I figured Los Angeles or NYC. I had gotten a theater scholarship to Los Angeles, but it was only for like $500, so not really anything. And I didn't have any money nor any idea how I could even afford to go someplace else or university when I had never been outside of Northern California. But something in me told me I needed to get out. So let's see. One morning, I was getting ready for work. I was working at the IKEA in East Palo Alto off Bayshore Road in Northern California. My twin brother called me and asked if I had heard the gunshots, to which I replied that I had. Now, in East Palo Alto, hearing gunshots was normal. It was nearly a daily, if not a daily occurrence. He said the shots came from around the corner where my sister's grandmother and cousins lived. And, he asked if I could just, go around and check it out. I don't know if he was in town or out of town or what, but he heard about it, so I'm on my way. My first thought, though, was I hope this isn't my cousins making all this noise. It's early in the morning. I was a little older than some of them, so I figured he wanted me to go over and be like big cousin and, get them in line before their grandmother got upset. Like, I'm usually I've always been the mature one or the one to, like, reason and get everything straight. So I exited the front porch and I turned left out of the gate. Walking down the block, I remember empty streets. It was sunny out, and then I turned right onto their block. As I walked down, I saw people gathered in the streets along with the ambulance and the police, a few cop cars out there. In the middle of the streets were my cousin's two older sisters hysterically crying. So I'm thinking it must be somebody we know. I asked what had happened, and they said they unalived her brother. My cousin Paris was 17 years old, and he was gone right outside his home. They never arrested or found the person or persons who unalived him. And that also was something that I felt was normal for East Palo Alto. At this point, I was just stunned. I just started walking to work. I was working on manual at this point. I had lost my older brother, Ortega, and my older cousin, Jamel, both so horrific, violent attacks. And now I just felt numb to it all. Like the last 2 years was like death after death after death. Somewhere between hearing colleagues talk about what was going on down the street and not realizing that was my cousin and customers lost looking for another department or trying to make returns, I decided I had to leave the Bay Area. I had to leave California. I had to leave my family. I figured dying was inevitable, but if I could help, if I could help it, I would, choose to die anywhere else than where I was from. The brilliance of social media, because it was still relatively new at this point, was that you can make friends from all over the world. I remember a friend I met on MySpace, yes, I'm that old, named Zach. We were the same age, but rather than taking a gap year like I did, where I took a year off to study real estate and theater, he went straight off to university. Zach was from Yonkers, New York, just outside of the city past the Bronx. Based on his page, he was clearly gay and very much so accepted. There were pics and videos of him and his boyfriend hanging out and looking after Zach's younger brother. I thought, what world is this where you can be so openly gay and accepted or have this courage to not even care if you're accepted? I just knew I kind of wanted that. I then knew I had to get to NYC. So I started applying to colleges and universities. I knew it was a bit late in the season. It was already after fall semester, so I applied for spring, but I had faith that if I was meant to leave, it was gonna happen. And I applied to like universities in upstate New York, not knowing what that was. So I told Zach about the schools I'd applied to, like this military academy, and he's like, those are in upstate New York, places like Albany and Rochester. And I was like, what's upstate? You see, I had no clue at the time that New York State and New York City were totally different. They are not the same thing. I just assumed that the whole state were the island boroughs I'd seen in movies, and I thought that was just I thought New York City was New York State, nothing else. So he suggested I apply to his school, which was Pace University. So I did. I applied a few months before the school term started, and I was accepted. I definitely took that as a sign. And I got a Dean Scholarship to boot. Of course, the scholarship, loans, and grants wouldn't cover the full private school tuition, but I was like, I'm a worker, and I figured I can get a job, and as soon as I could, to make payments on my tuition. Yeah, I had only just met my birth father in November on Thanksgiving at his mother's mansion. Yes, we'll get into the mansion a little later. It's gorgeous though. So asking for a handout though was nowhere near appropriate to me. I was like, these people are strangers to me. My mother was serving time in prison for something that happened in 1998 or 99. And of course, even if she were out, I still wouldn't have gotten anything. We just didn't have it like that. And honestly speaking, I don't think you can do a Parent Plus loan when your parent is in jail. My aunt said my mother could face up to 5 years or more, and that she and they wanted me to look after her house while she was gone. Yeah, I declined. I had 2 older sisters, a twin, and a younger brother. I was right in the middle because I'm 3 minutes older than my twin brother. And my oldest sister already had 2 kids in her own life. My second oldest sister was still searching for hers, and my twin lacked any ambition whatsoever. And I was just like, no, why does it have to fall on me? So I knew if I didn't make this break, I would end up unalive or worse. Living in the same lives my family had been living since the 80s, I had to make it out of that life in order to one day get my family out as well, which I'm still working on. It's a daily thing here. I'm working on this today. With a lot of reluctance and back and forth from my aunts, they finally gave in to me moving across the country alone. My Aunt Frances even threw me a going away party, and my cousins and all my aunts showed up, and we had a really good time and a really good cake. You see, I was the first in our family to go to college. My mother is the youngest of 7 girls. My grandmother had 5 daughters and 2 stepdaughters. My Aunt Frances knew the importance of this moment, not just for me, but for our family. I had the responsibility of changing our family's trajectory. At least that's how I felt about it at the time. Sorry. So, my cousin at the time worked for JetBlue Airlines, and she gave me and my sister buddy passes to fly to New York. My sister was going to help me get settled into my dorm. Against my advice, though, she did decide to put her life on hold to look after our mother's home. It was the first time either of us had flown. Pretty much everyone in our family was afraid to fly. I mean, back in the day, my grandmother would pack up her entire family, kids, husband, all, and drive to visit her aunt and family in Chicago from Northern California. Now, I can imagine how long that took. I kind of wonder, though, if they used the green book on their route. I was determined to not look like an amateur. I'd even Googled how much a taxi from the airport from JFK to Manhattan would cost, which was at the time was like $50. So just so I could like fool the driver into thinking I had been coming to NYC for years and would not be taken advantage of. So when I got in the car, I was like, hey, is it still $50 to get to Manhattan? He was like, yeah. So I was like, cool. NYC would be a mini adventure for both my sister and me. And I was super excited about this new adventure. And stay tuned because more videos are going to tell more of this story.
Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it. And splinters. And boards torn up. And places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time I's been a-climbing on. And reaching landings. And turning corners. And sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now. For ours is still going, honey. Ours is still climbing.